So I've just spent the week at NVIDIA's global conference. It's known as GTC, and it is really remarkable to bask in the glory and the aura and the success of the largest company in the world. NVIDIA began by creating chips for gamers to allow them to view shadows and reflections and liquid more smoothly. So they created specific hardware to help the developers of games render their vision of reality much more clearly. God, look at that. That is magical. And today, they are the company that accelerates all computing in every domain. So whether it's medical devices, artificial intelligence, financial modeling, weather prediction, programming, robotics, data center management, number crunching, like whatever form of computing that is constrained by Moore's law slowing down, where we can't make CPUs or central processing units faster, they've been preparing a custom-made stack of silicon, of hardware, data center racks, of custom integrations, coding libraries, and just anything required to speed up computing in that domain. And of course, as many of you will know, a few years ago, the domain that exploded was artificial intelligence. But what I took away from this conference was that they have an answer to almost every computing bottleneck for the future. The area I'm particularly interested in is robotics, and the sheer breadth of their offering in that field is incredible. So one of the important things with a robot is being able to take in that visual input and issue messages to the motors, otherwise known as actuators or servos, with instructions. And you can think of this as the input of photons, the processing through intelligence, and the output of action. So there is a kind of flow from the light that the camera sees into the onboard graphical processing unit or GPU that's in the robot, the prioritization and understanding of the necessary actions inside a model or VLA, otherwise known as a vision language action model, and then the set of decisions that are rendered and issued from the onboard computer into the motors of the robot to make it do something in the real world. And so it flows through light into electrons, into electrical signals to a motor, and then the feedback loop is the light passing back into the camera. And so you have this beautiful feedback loop between what the robot can see, what the robot does, and what the robot has done, between kind of reality and action. And NVIDIA has a stack for all of this. They have the training systems for the models that cater to robots. They have the onboard computer, which is known as the Jetson. This has a GPU and a CPU and a small operating system. And they have the stack to do inference for computation that cannot be done on the robot. So if the robot needs to make a more complicated decision and it can connect to the internet, it can run a request against a server that will help it understand the world around it more clearly and give it instructions. And so, to put this into a concrete example, I have a robot that folds my clothes from a company called Weave Robotics. And the robot can fold towels and t-shirts autonomously using the onboard computer and the model they've trained. But when it needs to do things more complicated, it is reaching out over the internet to a collection of people and larger scale computers to try and find the optimal way to fold more complicated forms of clothing, say like a dress or an odd shaped jacket or a new pattern on a asymmetric piece of clothing. And so in those instances, the robot is relying on people through teleoperation, and it is relying on feedback from larger servers using much more advanced algorithms that run at a higher level. And this is really fascinating. This is truly incredible, that the handoff and how it all works. I'm just cruising by, heading down. Morning.
How are you?
All right. And, yeah, just saying hello to some people on the trail. It's looking pretty nice right now. Sun's coming through the trees. Yeah, so the reason this is so interesting to me, at least, is that across the whole economy, NVIDIA has an answer for so many of the fastest growing markets that can help these markets create products, deliver services, and make things for other people that are truly useful. And in many ways, this conference kind of expanded my thinking outside the phone, from apps and websites and scrolling and watching, into everything from how do you control an aeroplane to what could robots do if they are able to run large models locally, to what do security systems look like with this new intelligence system, and just really drove home how many other areas of computing both exist and are ripe for change now that we can embed intelligence into anything. The really special thing about the company is that they have a way of attracting incredibly talented people and incentivizing them and keeping them for a long time and not doing mass firings. One of the phrases that Jensen uses is the idea of torturing people into greatness. And that might sound a little extreme, but they are an extremely successful company. And he has found a way to coach and mentor and work with people over long periods of time and get them to improve. And so when the demand for what they create massively increased, when the number of chips that they needed to make and deliver to customers in various formats suddenly increased exponentially, they were there and ready to meet that demand. And were able to deliver, extraordinary numbers of data centers to their customers at record time. So the thing I really was reflecting on is, if you were to take kind of the opposite of bankruptcy and kind of bottle it up, it would look something like NVIDIA, of course, right? It's the largest, most successful company in the world. But at its core, it's delivered utility to people at scale. It's delivered systems that gamers love, that researchers love, that people who use artificial intelligence love. And their surface area of creation is just enormous. And in startup world, you're kind of always hovering around failure, bankruptcy, co-founder breakup, running out of money too quickly, hiring the wrong people. There's just quite a lot of pain associated with the creation of a company. And in some ways, for me, it was just beautiful to spend a little time basking in the light of a company that's so successful. The only thing they struggle with is creating more of what they already create more quickly. They know the demand is basically infinite. They know that people love their creation, and all they are trying to do is create more of it. And it's quite refreshing to see a company operate on such a level. That at the beginning, everything is unknown, everything is confusing, bankruptcy looms at your door, and it's incredibly stressful because you're still not sure if human beings will appreciate what you're creating. But when you reach the zenith, as companies like NVIDIA and Apple have done, the vibe totally shifts to one of managing this gigantic organization that is trying to create more of what humans ask it to do. And my takeaway from this week is that they have truly delivered the stack required for robotics to start working at scale, because that's the area I have a little bit of familiarity now and some understanding. And on a kind of more fundamental level, it's given me the frame that, bankruptcy kind of gives you contact with reality, but profits, expanding margins, just gigantic revenue, really indicates that what you're doing is helpful and useful and important. And I know that sounds incredibly obvious, but to me, I think I've sometimes confused a lot of business with terms like markets and marketing and advertising and convincing people they should try something. But at its most basic core, what a company should do is create an offering for humanity. And if that offering is well received, you should sail away from bankruptcy very quickly and move towards a place of growth. I think that Silicon Valley is kind of legendary because it keeps figuring out what humans want that they don't know is possible. I think that when people got hold of computers and spreadsheets and phones and satellites and now artificial intelligence and soon robotics, they see something and they have an instinctual reaction to it. The beautiful thing about having access to some of these robots early is that I get to show people what they're like when they're in my home. and I get to gauge how serious someone is about purchasing it. And what I found about the clothes folding robot is every young parent thinks it's fantastic because they know how much washing and folding and kind of clothes organizing there is as you start to build your family. The level of washing seems to increase exponentially, and the amount of labor around that can grow a lot. And so we all have washing machines, we all have drying machines, but soon we're going to have folding machines. And I think beyond that, we'll have machines that will take care of the whole laundry cycle in our homes quickly and easily. It's going to be fantastic. But yeah, I just want to circle back on this duality of bankruptcy and profitability being about an offering to humanity. And that if you are creating something truly magical and useful and powerful, you don't need to be as nervous or stressed or worried as you currently are, because the market will reward you if you have created something special. And that might sound trite and simplistic, but I didn't really fully understand that or feel that until the last few years, when I shifted from working on things that confused people to working on things that are very clear to people. Yeah. All right. Gonna wrap this up, get back to the trail. Thanks for taking a walk with me.